They change cultures. They're heat seekers. They run at adversity and embrace change. These are the Room Tilters.
Somebody who can change the temperature in a room when they walk in. I mean, that's metaphorical for somebody who can influence those around them and make such an impact quickly, emphatically, and long-lasting, whether it be an organization, a team, a relationship, whatever it might be.
This is the Room Tilters podcast, presented by Limitless Minds. Co-hosts DJ Eitzen and Harry Wilson, founders of peak performance and leadership consulting company Limitless Minds, explore how the best and brightest change the temperature in a room. From sports, the military, entertainment, and media, clinical psychologists to CEOs. This podcast will navigate what it takes to think big and go far. And now, DJ and Harry.
All right, baby. We're back on the Room Tilters podcast, and we have a really special guest today, somebody that I literally grew up watching, as they say, and somebody, have an opportunity to both work with, live with, and it's my little brother, Russell Wilson, quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. And DJ, we've been waiting for an opportunity to get somebody on that people might know, because, we got like 3 listeners at this point.
Hey, listen, stop, man. I just checked. We had like 75 views. Okay, so it's increasing.
We're going to make them views go up then.
That's right. That's right.
We're just starting now, so we got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's right. But Russ, man, thanks for joining, man. Exciting.
Yeah, it's obviously super exciting. Obviously, what we've been able to do with Limitless Minds has been super exciting to be a part of with you guys and co-founding Limitless Minds and all the amazing companies and people we've been able to work with and some of the top leaders in the world, business leaders and so forth. And where we're headed is beyond me just thinking about how exciting everything is. But I think that ultimately to work with you two guys, one, Harry, I just love you to death, obviously being my brother, but just what you've meant to me in my world. And DJ, I know we've gotten to know each other over the past really couple years now.
That's right.
And it's been really a joy just to be around you and get to know you and what you mean to, one, my brother, and what you've meant to him over the years. And your tenacity to be great has been awesome to be a part of. And then shout out to our guy Trevor to do this whole thing with him too as well.
That's right.
That's right. It's interesting. It's I was thinking about the other day, about 10 years ago, you were drafted by the Colorado Rockies. So I think a lot of people thought, this man's going to play some baseball and see if he can make it to the big leagues. And it's just interesting to see how that journey's kind of changed, right? From that moment, right? And kind of, certainly over a decade of time in any world, you kind of, you kind of reflect back on different forks in the road, choices you've made, and whatnot. But you're now in year 8 of your NFL career. Tons happened. Super Bowls won, Super Bowls lost. Records broken and records still to be attained. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. Interesting. I remember being drafted on June 8, 2010. The next day, Dad passed away. Right. And how heavy that was. But also what a blessing it was to know that he was going to a better place. And really, it was kind of just I think he was giving the seal of approval over your life. You had just gotten married, and giving the approval of my life and just sports and where I was going to be headed. He just knew something that I didn't even fully know. And then our little sister Anna, where she was going to be going, and just he challenged her when she was really young just to be great at everything she did, and sure enough, she is. Being at Stanford now and playing basketball and everything else. And so I think, I think that when I look back on it, I would never forget, being drafted, Dad passing away, having to go to the funeral, then never forget me being in the hotel room in Denver, looking out the window. I was wearing a suit and tie and a Rockies hat, and looking out the window and being like, man, I'm going to make it in the big leagues. Yeah. And I had played great in college football and played baseball and all that stuff and everything else. But I was like, man, I'm going to make it in the big leagues. I'm going to go into Coors Field and sitting right behind home plate with my agent, lawyer, Mark Rogers, and being in the locker room with the fellows, Todd Helton and the guys, and Troy Tulowitzki, who's been a good friend now over the past year or so since I've gotten to know him through the Yankee spring training and everything else, and also knowing him when we were training together for the Rockies. But anyways, when I reflect back on that, I remember sitting behind a home plate, and Todd Helton was walking up to the plate, a former quarterback, ironically behind Peyton Manning. I told Mark, and I leaned to him. He was sitting to my left, and I leaned to him. I said to him, Mark, the funny thing is that I'm going to play in the NFL. I'm going to play pro baseball. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I think back to that. I think back to, that moment of my life. And I think back to where I am today. And, 10 years later, it's been an amazing journey. It's been an amazing journey of success. It's been an amazing journey of fighting for everything, every moment, every play, every down, every situation. It's been an amazing moment of life's ups and downs. Losing, dad, obviously, having to go through divorce, which is unfortunate. But then finding love again and just finding what love really is like, and getting married, which is such a blessing. Having a child, having a little daughter, being a stepdad. I mean, just the love that I have for baby Future, and just how amazing that is, and just really finding out what love is really like by loving a child that's not necessarily biologically yours, but to love them like they are. To winning a Super Bowl and hosting the trophy and holding that up, where you guys were there, the whole family and everything else, to unfortunately being right there to hold another one and it not work the way that I wanted it to, but also realizing that there's so much more in store. Mm-hmm. And I think that when I think about Ryan right now, and ironically being the highest paid player in the NFL, to be honest with you, is kind of crazy to think about when I think about that, because people said I would never make it, and it's like, it's a testament to hard work. It's a testament to belief. It's a testament to love. It's a testament to just being relentless, being relentless, being a person that just, I'm going to go for it. And if I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to go for it, I'm going to make it. And if I fall, well, I'm going to fall hard. But if I get on top of there, you know what? Then everybody else, you're gonna look up and be like, man, I wish I had the boldness that he had, And so I think that it's been cool. It's been a cool journey.
Those that have been listening, that this whole concept of room tilters kind of was born from, meeting John Schneider, GM of Seattle Seahawks, in a Marriott, and him telling me about, you and his perspective on you being a room tilter. I know we talked about that a little bit. I would love for you to kind of give your perspective on what a room tilter is in your world, right? How is that manifested in your world? Somebody that's able to change the temperature in the room amongst their peers, their team, their organization.
Well, I think from a football perspective, when a guy walks onto the field, do they bring a certain presence, a certain swagger? Do they bring a certain confidence to the huddle, to the field? When the ball's in the air, do you believe every time they get the ball? One of my favorite things about Michael Jordan when I was growing up is every time there was a timeout at the end of the game, you knew who was getting the ball when they came out of that timeout. Who's taking the shot. And that's a room tilter to me. It's somebody who, they come into the room and they make the place a better place than when they first got there. They make it even better. They make that organization, they make that team. They make the game of basketball, they make the game of football, they make the game of business better. Right. And I guess the question is, are you a room tilter or not? And how do you become one? I think that one, it's an innate thing. I think that you have to have it. I think two, it's definitely a thing that you have to work on. It doesn't just, you don't just become a great golfer, a great tennis player, a great football player, or whatever, by not working at it. You have to work at your craft. You have to work on how you say things, how you think about things, what you don't do, right. All those things. And I think that's all critical component of becoming a room tilter. But I think ultimately, does that person affect others in a positive manner?
You mentioned pressure. And, Trevor talks a lot. For those who don't know, Trevor Moawad is Russell Wilson's mental conditioning coach, one of the world's best, also the CEO of Limitless Minds, our company. But Trevor talks a lot about pressures of privilege. And I know you guys have discussed that. Tell us about that. Like when you talked about how that and how it pertains to tilting a room. You said that you want that pressure. How does that feel like? And tell us, kind of a little bit more about that.
Well, I think the term pressure as a privilege is, if there's no pressure on you, then the reality is you nobody's really looking at you. Mm-hmm. I think at the end of the day, I'm one of 32 men in the world that get to do what I get to do. I'm playing quarterback, right? Yep. So there's real organic, natural pressure to that, right? But if I was, let's just say I wasn't in the spot that I'm in, and I'm watching a football game and I'm watching I'm watching the team that I love, well, there's not really any pressure on me, to be honest with you. But if you're playing in the game, you're the one in the midst of the battle, in the midst of what you're going through, then that's real pressure. And I think that, how you deal with that pressure is real. I think how you look at it is it can be a privilege or it can be a curse. And to me, I look at it as a privilege. It's a blessing to be able to do what I get to do. And I'd rather be doing this than not doing it.
I think that people who are watching, elite performers or CEOs or business leaders perform, I think there's a lot of different ways you can approach your strength and your weaknesses, right? Your strengths and your weaknesses. How does somebody like you think about those, right? How much time do you spend on working on weaknesses versus your strengths?
That's a good question. I think in the performance world, like in terms of playing wise, I think that I would say that you 70% working on your strengths. I don't know. I think all of it you have to work on, but I think that like naturally you're gonna want to win the play. So, my strengths are gonna be. This game of football is a little bit different because like your strengths, like for example, I'll say some of my strengths. Okay, throwing a deep ball. Okay, I work on that naturally because the guy's running deep, and I throw it to him, and I work on that every day. Okay, but some of my other strengths would be like scrambling. I don't scramble every day in practice, right. So that's one of my strengths, but it's just something that I innately do.
Survival.
Yeah. So, and then I think that one of the things that I always constantly work on 100% of the time is my footwork. I'm always constantly working on that because it determines the success of the play, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this, though. Because there's another. You're not just defined by football, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're an entrepreneur. Your hobby is business, right? Creating opportunities, creating new. And so I have got to imagine, because that's not your everyday job necessarily. That have you identified how you handle it there? Is it different? Are there strengths and weaknesses that you have? And actually, I really want to focus on, because a lot of times, listen, everybody's always kissing your butt, right? Because you're Russell Wilson, you're an NFL quarterback, and it's in the time you get to spend with people, they want to tell you how awesome you are. But I'm your big brother, so we can talk about weaknesses too. You know what I mean? No, but like with weaknesses though, in business, right? What are some of those things that you think you're wanting to work on, whether leadership in the business space?
Well, I think the great thing about playing quarterback and translating to business is it's all about communication. So that's definitely one of my strengths. Like communication is something that I love doing. I would say that my biggest weakness just in life, and which translates to business and even sports sometimes, is it's just time. To be honest with you, I think there's just not. It feels like there's sometimes not enough time for others, for the things that sometimes I really want to do. To be honest with you, but there's just not enough time to do it all. And I think time can be a weakness in the sense that trying to decipher what's more important, this thing or that thing. And to me, I always feel like I can do it all. That's just my thing. I can do all this, I can do that, and I can find a way to make more time for it. And I think as I've gotten older, being just turned 30, but I think the reality is that I've started to figure out that one of my weaknesses is trying to entertain everybody's time, and I just can't. There's 24 hours in a day, and 60 of those hours, a lot of time are just football hours. Right. And I think that when it comes to business, my mind is always like, people always ask me like, how do you do it all? And I think it's really one of my greatest strengths is having great people around me to help me. And I figure that out because, like I said, time is probably my greatest weakness. My greatest strength is having others around me that are really good at what they do, which before I used to think I could handle it all. And now I'm like, okay, well, shoot, that's my weakness. So I don't have enough time to do it all. And neither am I smart enough to do it all necessarily all the time. So maybe what I should do is hire all the smart people to help me do that. And that's been great, And so I think that's been awesome, to be able to hire great people, to have great people around me, to decipher what's most important, to make the right decision, to create business, to create opportunities. I'm a visionary, as you are, Harry, as you are, DJ. And I think that the reality is that I have a lot of great ideas, and then it's time to make those ideas come to life. And to be able to pass those ideas to others and trust that they're going to get it done. To be honest with you, it's kind of like Limitless Minds. Yeah. It's like, okay, I want to work with you. I want to do this. I want to help create this with you guys and everything else. And the reality is, for 6 months of the year, I'm pretty busy. And so you guys are the ones dominating the business in terms of really being able to create something that's really long-lasting for not just corporations, but for people all around the world. And that's been really, really cool. And I can trust that. I know that it's going to get handled. I know that's a great example, to be honest with you.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, it's one of the things in when we talk. You talk a lot about like belief and your faith. Tell us how your faith has played a role in your mindset.
Well, I think faith is, and this is different for everybody. Mm-hmm. I know for me, my faith has given me balance. It's given me light. It's given me light, like vision, but it's also given me a lightness, not stressing as much to worry of. One of my favorite scriptures is Matthew 6:33. Matthew 6:33, and it says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." It says all these things, and then verse 34 says, "Don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has enough worries in itself." And I think that was a critical scripture in my lifetime when I was about 20, 21 years old, and I was about to get drafted in baseball, and I was fighting to figure out, do I go baseball, do I go football? And I remember my mom telling me, have a scripture to stand on. I remember saying that scripture day in and day out, and until a scripture I write on my wrist a lot of times right before games, on my tape. It's something that has always given me a kind of reminder that, don't worry, God's gonna handle it. It's gonna work out, and just try to do your best every day, and I think that's been critical to me in terms of my faith, is just trusting that it's going to get handled and God's going to do his work. And to me, it's just about being obedient to just loving others, just loving other people. So many people talk about religion and faith and everything else, right? And I think ultimately it's really about me caring and serving, and that's what God did. That's what Jesus did. That's what. And not everybody believes in the same religion. That's okay, But at the end of the day, it's like, can we love other people? Can we help other people? Can we serve? Can we give back? Can we try to make the world a better place? And that's, somebody asked me, would you ever do politics, or would you ever are you interested in politics? I said, no, I'm not interested in politics. I'm interested in people, and so it's about people, So
you talked about room tilting on the field, right? That swag, the ability that people look you in the eye, especially as a quarterback, and see, the poise and the determination and all that stuff. I think that, outside of, and really even on the field, and in the building, right, at the VMAC and et cetera, but even just in business and as you work with your team here, West to East, that's what's really important, I think, from a leadership perspective, is that caring, that servant leadership, right, that I think that's something that you gather from your faith.
And I can always do that better, like I said. I think you can always, the thing about it is, once you think you have it, and once you think you've done it, and you figured it out, that's when you lose it. I think for me is like staying. This is the fascinating part about Limitless Minds, for example, is that like I truly believe that my mind, I can go compete with anybody in terms of how I think about it, how I'm going to be in the fourth quarter, whatever. I think God's gifted me with that, and I've worked at it. But it's something I continually work at. Right. It's something I work on every week, and it's critical, So I know that's my competitive advantage.
You are somebody that many people look to as that example of, tilting a room and changing the temperature in the room and an organization and a culture. Who are some of those people for you, right? That people might not necessarily think about right away. Is there some individuals out there that you'll go to, or that you really, really observe, that lead people in the way that you want to lead people?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think just in our family, I think you were one of those people for sure. Our parents and all that, and I think from now in my lifetime, I would say Coach Carroll is definitely one of those people who's, I think, he's just consistent every day. You know what you're going to get. But I would say from the business world, Kenny Dichter. He's like a father figure to me. He's just Wheels Up CEO. He's just been an amazing figure for me, and just got to know him over the years since Wisconsin days. And he's been an amazing friend, business associate, partner. Been just a brilliant mind that I can lean on. Hey, I got a question. Hey, I got this. Hey, I got, it could be from family to all the way to, I remember calling him I met Sierra, and that she may be the one. And he was like, well, let me meet her. Blah blah blah. And so, Yeah, so Mark Rogers would definitely be one of those people. He's my agent, lawyer, he's a father figure to me too as well. Just important person in my life that's been with me for the past 10 years. The past 10 years of my life, man, I think back to when I was 20 years old. Man, I remember what that was like, and just 10 years. What am I gonna do the next 10 years? Whew, watch out, And so I think about just what that's gonna look like, And so I think having that vision. I think ultimately, to be honest with you all, it's got to be you. It's got to be you. The reality is, you can listen to anybody else and hear anybody else, and people give you advice and da 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 da. It's not you that you're doing it, but it's got to be you that you're believing and you're convincing yourself that you can do it. You got to have great people around you. You got to surround yourself around amazing people. But ultimately, you got to be the one getting up in the morning, looking forward to doing it, looking forward to what's going to be next. Man, watch God. What is he going to do next in my life? Man, I can't wait to what's going to happen today. Man, that was a tough day yesterday, but man, they better watch out today because it's going to be a good day. And I think that's the mentality that we need to have, that why not you attitude, that belief that just great things are in store, great things are going to happen. Speaking life. Why would you speak any other way? Why? Why would you waste your time doing anything else? Because it's not going to get you anywhere. So remaining neutral, remaining with great language, remaining focused on what the goal is, what the mission is, staying focused on the challenge and the ultimate goal is critical. And there's only one way to think. There's only one way to practice. There's only one way to play. And I think that's critical.
Can I ask you a few quick, really quick, rapid-fire questions?
Yeah, sure. Ready.
To get to know Russell Wilson. So, favorite music group, musician, dead or alive?
Man.
Can't say Sierra.
Yeah, okay, can't say Sierra. Michael Jackson is one of my favorite artists, Earth, Wind & Fire. Those two groups.
Earth, Wind & Fire.
Yeah, they performed at our wedding.
Remember that? I had to change my pants after that. It was incredible.
Why, you peed in your pants? Or just
Yes, because the excitement of Earth, Wind & Fire coming out and just killing the game for 3 hours straight. Hidden talent?
I would say singing, but I think it's just a thought thing.
So that would be a lie.
Cooking.
Oh, very nice.
think cooking.
So are we talking about on the grill, or are we talking about in the
Grill,
kitchen?
I can do it in the kitchen.
What
too,
would you? What would you? What would be your
Oh,
go-to?
My ribs are hands down the best.
You smoke? Are you smoking them? Or what are you doing?
I'm not telling you.
Okay,
man.
my bad.
It's a hidden talent.
Okay, that's true. I did say hidden. That's a good point. I did say hidden. Instagram or Twitter, and why?
I use both. I like the gram, but I would say I'm more of a Twitter person actually. Just because I like getting I get my news fast. I'm in meetings, I'm in and out, and just to see oh, okay, that's this team won this, or this is what's going on in the world, or whatever it is. I would say that's probably my place first.
Favorite food? Not that you cook, so no ribs.
I love sushi.
Oh, is there a sushi place in Seattle that we should be going to?
Umi sushi. Go to my girl RC. She's the best.
Okay, this message is sponsored by Umi in Seattle. What about a biggest regret? This is the last one.
Well, I mean, I wish for you won the Super Bowl. That'd be great. Was it? To be honest, but
That's fair. That's a fair one.
I don't really have regrets. I think that the reality is that I've lived my life loving and caring for others and trying to do my best at all times and trying to, so I think that you go through life and you realize that you have highs and lows but it's all lessons to where I am today and where God has put me is, I thank God every day just for giving me grace, giving me peace, giving me my family. So it's all been a formula. It's all been part of the journey. I don't know.
I like that. I like kind of thinking about regrets differently, like lessons rather than regrets.
Yeah, I think that I think it's all the things that you go through in life or trying to. If I had, maybe this is the better question for me, and I'll ask. I guess myself this, but one of the coolest things I always think about is what would be my one wish. If I had one wish, I would say just to spend another day with my dad, our dad. Just to see, what would he be doing right now? He used to run up and down the sidelines with you. He'd run down the sidelines with me too, but I usually was throwing it. So, but I think about I think about that, just where he would be, his energy, how much joy he would have on his face just to be around with us. So that would be my one wish. I think if I had one wish, it'd be to see him again, to spend time with him again.
Yeah, we share that wish, man, because obviously in the we talked about the last decade, and the holy shit, the things that have happened over the last decade. Both, obviously me observing you as an older brother, Anna, of course, into my life, 3 kids, marriage, the whole nine. And it's crazy to think that your dad wasn't there to see it live right now. You always believe that he's had a great seat and been watching everything, but it would be great to like pick up the phone and call, you know what I mean? Or to reach out or to enjoy these football games with my, like, I can only imagine sitting in the seat next to dad watching these games or like watching TV. It would be everything, right? And so you miss those opportunities and everything. But I appreciate how your response on the regret and kind of more about lessons, and I think that's really good stuff. We appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, man, this is fun. We got to do it more often. Room Tilter's pretty sweet. We get more people listening to this. This is great. It's so much fun.
I think I just checked, man. We're up to 76.
Well, this is going to go up fast. Once we post this, it's going to go up.
And we're gonna post it. You know what I mean? It's gonna get crazy. Thanks, man. We appreciate it, dude. We'll do this again, and don't forget about your big brother, man. You know what I mean? Get on our podcast, guy.
Yeah, it's good. We got him on, though, man. We got him on.
It's about time. You know what I mean? No, thanks, man. We appreciate you. We love you, and we'll talk soon.
All right, love you guys. Dream big, think big, go far.
That's it.
All right. I'll see you guys.
Peace.
You've been listening to the Room Tilters podcast, hosted by DJ Eitzen and Harry Wilson, presented by Limitless Minds.